Okay, welcome back everybody. Second video of homeschooling by School of 9000. Are you ready? Because today we're talking about something very important, something very dear to my heart, something that brings results if practiced, okay? So maybe a quick recap of the last video. In the last video, we spoke a lot about practicing discernment, especially if you are a creative person, if you're a person that, has a lot of potent ideas in their heads and wants to bring them to life, how it really is beneficial to you to practice discernment about the environments you're in, because having those ideas, as we talked about, requires its own energy, its own nurturance, its own vibe, right? And knowing that collectively people are more trained to prevent failure and thus might give you on a regular responses that can be discouraging if you don't know what you're dealing with. So the aim of the last video really was about making sure you guys are not discouraged, because a lot of the times the responses that we get have nothing to do with the quality of our ideas, the originality of it, how great it is, or the lack thereof. None of that. It's just that collectively we are more trained to prevent failure, and thus it is normal that people will seek out the weak spots in anything you tell them. And so today's video actually builds on the first one in the sense that knowing what we now know, knowing that people operate the way they operate, knowing that ideas are very vulnerable, especially in the early stages, to the energy, to the type of nurturing that is around, knowing all of that, how can we still move our idea forward? Or put differently, how can we move our idea forward when nobody gets us? Now, to put this in the right context, let's remember why we reach out to people in the first place when we first come up with an idea. It is usually for one of two reasons, right? In the beginning, it's about coherence. A lot of the times when we come up with ideas, when we have like certain, visions, it's fragments, right? It's something really detailed that you see here. And then the next moment you see something really detailed here, but how do, So a lot of times what we are dealing with when we, conceive these ideas, it's there in fragments. And so that is why it is so helpful to have people around us that draw it out, that give it the right energy, that help us, make sense of what we're seeing. So number one is coherence. Number two, this becomes more important down the line, is collaboration, is finding partners. So if you have reached a point where you can now formulate really well what it is that you see, what it is that you're trying to do, at some point it'll be important for you to find partners, to find people that can help you take this thing to the next level. Because especially if we're talking about more complex things, it's going to require other people, right? So keeping that in mind, those are like the two main reasons why we reach out. We want to make sense of what it is we're seeing, number one, and later down the line we want to be able to share this with others so they can collaborate with us. So how do we do that? Honestly, I'm just going to kick it to you. You have to write. You might not want to hear this, but you have to write. The good news is, however, is that it doesn't have to be that intimidating or scary as you might think it is. Writing for creative purposes, writing for the purpose of getting an idea, a vision out of your mind and just down into paper, translating your idea into at least a written form, follows very different rules than the writing that, we kind of have to do when we're in school. So today we will talk about how to understand writing in a different way. So why am I such a big advocate of writing? Well, number one, a lot of times you don't have the resources, the people available to help you get further, so you have to find a way somehow to get at least the next step done yourself, right? And writing does that. And the most important reason, specifically in the beginning, is even if you don't have that surrounding, you still have to get your thoughts out. You still have to get all those things out of your mind. A lot of times people think they can solve everything in their minds. Oh, I don't have to write that down. I can remember. I don't have to write that down. I can sort it out. Well, the thing is, if it's simple things, yes, you can remember. Yes, you can figure it out. But if it's more complex things that you're still trying to get your mind around, it's difficult. It's really difficult. And funnily, if you pay really close attention, maybe you go try this over the next couple of days. If you pay really close attention to how your mind works, you will see that our mind actually goes in loops. Like, we have usually the same thoughts over and over. The mind is a very diligent machine of trying to solve things, right? Especially if it is something you're passionate about, right? So in those cases in particular, your mind is always trying to solve something, when in reality, there's nothing to solve yet. You are dealing with fragments at this point in time. You really want to just get it out and try to understand what you're dealing with in the first place. And it is not until you get those thoughts out that your mind is able to hop onto the next thing. So the first benefit of writing is enabling your mind to operate, to move quicker, smoother, without all this, I have to solve this, I have to fix this. No, you don't have to fix anything, but in order to serve and assist your mind in the best way, you write the stuff out to unload the things that are going on mentally, okay? Number two, the reason why writing is so beneficial is that literally by writing, you are pulling this thing out. You are separating it out from you. If you never write and it's only here, it's very tempting to think that it's you. It becomes very personal, and it should be, because it gives you a lot of fuel, obviously. But, I think it was Rick Rubin has a new book. He's like, ideas come when it's their time. And they usually come when the time is right. And if they don't find their way out through one person, it is not unusual for them to find their way out through another person, which is why I also said in the last video, ideas are just ideas. Ideas don't belong to anybody, right? But there's a reason why you have it. There is something that equips you the best to bring this to life. The world needs it, right? Long tangent, but what I'm trying to say is, by writing it out, you are assisting the process of this thing becoming its own thing. You are separating it out from you. And by separating it out from you, you are making your life easier, because now you can see. If you haven't gotten into meditation, or at least Buddhist meditation, there's this concept of the observer, right? So you meditate, you practice awareness, and through that, you build this observer platform, right? And from there you can now watch, oh, this thought is coming, okay, this thought is, you sort of have a detached sense of everything that is going on. And through that, now the space between whatever happens and your reaction just gets bigger. Now you have more agency. Now you can decide better. Oh, might not react to this actually. Oh, okay, this actually requires you know what I mean? So this observer quality that you have in meditation, and the equivalent of that in creative work is actually writing, because what you do is establishing that observant role, because now you start to write things down and you can now look at it with more space between you and the thing, right? And it enables you to be more strategic, to have more clarity, and also be less emotionally stirred up. Now that we know why writing is so important and what benefits it gives us in the context of our creative visions or ideas, I will also be sharing with you 3 main tips on how to approach writing for your purposes. So with that being said, I hope this video was helpful for you. Give us a like if it was. Hit the subscribe button to make sure you're not missing out on the next video. And until then, more power to you.